The restaurant was dimly lit, the soft glow of candlelight reflecting off polished silverware. The air smelled of freshly baked bread and seared steak, the kind of place where the clinking of glasses and murmured conversations wove a background melody of refined luxury. It was their anniversary, a night that should have been filled with love, laughter, and celebration. But in a matter of minutes, the evening would take a humiliating and shocking turn. Lisa sat across from her husband, Damon, her fingers lightly tracing the rim of her empty wine glass. Her heart pounded, not with excitement, but with the growing weight of unease. She had seen this side of him before, the sharpness in his gaze, the tension in his jaw. It had started with subtle insults, then dismissive remarks, and now, something worse. Damon reached for the bill, his smirk smug as he flipped it over. His eyes darkened when he saw the total. He exhaled sharply and slid the bill across the table toward Lisa. "Your turn," he said flatly, leaning back in his chair. Lisa blinked, caught off guard. "What?" "You heard me," he said, his voice loud enough for nearby diners to glance their way. "You want to be independent, right? You talk about equality all the time. Pay for it." Lisa's stomach twisted. Yes, she had a job. Yes, she contributed to their home. But they had never agreed on this. Never once had he forced her to pay for an anniversary dinner, especially not one he had planned. She reached for her purse, but when she opened it, her heart sank. She had left her wallet at home. "You're joking," Damon muttered under his breath when she explained. His expression twisted, his irritation morphing into something uglier. He let out a humorless laugh. Then, without warning, he grabbed the untouched slice of anniversary cake from the plate and smashed it into Lisa's face. A collective gasp rippled through the restaurant. The thick frosting smeared across her cheeks, her nose, and dripped onto her dress. The room spun with a mixture of shock and shame as laughter erupted from a nearby table. Lisa sat frozen, stunned. The man she had trusted, loved, and devoted herself to had just humiliated her in front of everyone. Silence swallowed the restaurant. The weight of 100 judgmental stares pressed against Lisa's back, burning into her skin like fire. The cake clung to her face, the sickly sweet scent of vanilla and buttercream mixing with the bitter taste of public humiliation. Damon was laughing, a cruel, satisfied chuckle. He wiped his fingers on a napkin and leaned back in his chair, watching her like she was a spectacle for his amusement. Lisa's hands clenched in her lap. For years she had endured his jabs, his belittling remarks, his passive-aggressive digs at her success. She had excused his behavior, convinced herself that he was just stressed, just tired, just anything but cruel. But tonight she saw him for what he truly was. Lisa inhaled deeply and reached for her water glass. The ice clinked against the sides as she lifted it. Damon smirked, expecting her to wipe her face in quiet humiliation. Instead she stood up. And in one swift motion she threw the water in his face. A loud gasp rippled through the restaurant. Damon flinched as the cold water splashed across his expensive shirt, dripping from his chin. The smirk vanished instantly, replaced by a stunned, almost childlike expression of shock. "You think this is funny?" Lisa's voice was calm, but there was steel behind it. She wiped the frosting from her face with the napkin, then threw it onto the table. "Humiliating your wife in public? Treating me like some joke?" Damon's shock turned to anger. "Are you insane?" He stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. "You embarrassed me." Lisa let out a cold laugh. "Oh, I'm sorry, was I supposed to sit here and let you treat me like trash? Did you expect me to laugh along while you made a fool of me?" People were whispering now, their gazes bouncing between them like they were watching a live drama unfold. Damon's face twisted in fury. "You're being dramatic. If you can't pay the bill, just admit it instead of playing the victim." Lisa stared at him, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. But then, something incredible happened. A man at a nearby table stood up. "I'll cover it," he said. Lisa turned toward him, her breath catching. He was tall, well-dressed, and looked at her with something she hadn't seen in a long time. Respect. Damon scowled. "Nobody asked you to get involved." The man shrugged. "Too late. I just did." He pulled out his wallet and handed his card to the waiter. "This woman deserves better than this humiliation." Murmurs spread across the restaurant. Lisa looked around and saw sympathetic faces, nods of agreement, and even a few people glaring at Damon. For the first time, Lisa saw how small he truly was. Damon clenched his jaw, his pride clearly wounded. He scoffed, yanking his jacket off the chair. "You know what? Enjoy your meal with your new friend," he spat. Then, with one final glare, he stormed out of the restaurant. Lisa let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. The man turned to her. "Are you okay?" She hesitated, then nodded. "I will be." But deep down she knew this was just the beginning. Because Damon was the kind of man who didn't let things go. And she had just humiliated him in front of an entire restaurant. The restaurant felt different now. The once pleasant ambience was now laced with tension, whispers filling the air like invisible daggers. Lisa stood frozen, her chest rising and falling with every unsteady breath. The man who had stepped in to pay for the bill sat down across from her, watching her carefully. "You sure you're okay?" he asked again. Lisa wiped the last bit of frosting from her cheek and let out a small, breathless laugh. "I'm still trying to figure that out." He extended his hand. "I'm Marcus." She hesitated for a second before shaking it. "Lisa." The waiter returned with Marcus's card, his expression still tinged with shock. I took care of it," he said, clearing his throat. "I just want to say that was one of the most satisfying things I've ever seen." Lisa let out a dry chuckle, but deep down her thoughts were racing. Damon was gone. But he wasn't really gone. She knew him. He would stew in his anger, let it boil until it spilled over. He would call her, text her, maybe even show up at home demanding an apology. That was the thing about men like him. When their power was threatened, they didn't back down. They retaliated. Marcus must have noticed the shift in her expression. "You don't have to go home if you don't feel safe," he said. Lisa's eyes snapped up. "What?" He leaned forward, lowering his voice. "I don't know what your situation is, but I've seen men like that before. They don't take humiliation well." Lisa swallowed hard. Was she that transparent? She forced a smile. "I'll be fine. But, thank you." "Really?" Marcus studied her for a moment, then nodded. "If you ever need someone to talk to or even just a friend here." He slid a small card across the table. Lisa glanced down. It was a business card, Marcus Walker, criminal defense attorney. She let out a short laugh. "A lawyer, huh? That explains the confidence." Marcus smirked. "That and I don't like bullies." Lisa ran her fingers over the card before slipping it into her purse. "I appreciate it." As she left the restaurant, stepping out into the cool night air, she felt something she hadn't in a long time, control. But it wouldn't last. Because Damon was waiting for her. Lisa barely had time to register the shadow leaning against her car before Damon stepped forward. "You made me look like an idiot in there," he hissed. Lisa's pulse spiked, but she kept her face neutral. "You did that to yourself, Damon." His jaw tightened. "I was joking, Lisa. You took it too far. You threw a cake in my face in front of an entire restaurant. That wasn't a joke. That was you trying to humiliate me." Damon scoffed, running a hand over his head. "Oh, so now you're the victim?" His voice dripped with sarcasm. "You embarrassed me. You think people won't be talking about this for weeks? You made me look like some abusive husband." Lisa's stomach twisted. Some abusive husband? She had been pushing away that thought for a long time. Damon had never hit her, never raised a hand. But what he did felt like violence. Cutting words, public humiliation, the way he controlled conversations, controlled her. Lisa straightened her spine. "I'm done." Damon stilled. "What did you just say?" "I'm done," she repeated, her voice steadier this time. "This marriage? This constant game where you make me feel small? I'm done with it, Damon." A slow, bitter smile spread across his face. "No, you're not." Lisa narrowed her eyes. "Excuse me?" "You're not leaving me," he said, stepping closer. "You wouldn't even know where to start without me. You don't have the guts to leave." Lisa's heart pounded, but she held her ground. "Watch me." She yanked open the car door and slid into the driver's seat. Damon didn't move, his smirk still in place as he leaned down to her window. "Go ahead, Lisa. Try to leave me. See what happens." His voice was too calm, too assured. Lisa gripped the steering wheel, her hands shaking. She knew him. And she knew this wasn't over. Not even close. The first warning. Lisa spent the night at a hotel. She couldn't go home, not yet. Not while Damon was still simmering in his anger. She sat on the bed, her mind racing. Could she really do this? Leave him? Her phone buzzed. She hesitated before picking it up. "Damon, you think you can just walk away?" Another message. "Damon, come home now or I'll make sure you regret it." Lisa's breath caught. Regret it? Then an image came through. Her blood ran cold. It was a picture of her apartment door. Slightly open. He was inside. Lisa's hands shook as she dialed a number, the one printed on Marcus's card. "Walker Law Office," came his voice, smooth and controlled. "Marcus, Lisa whispered, her voice shaking. I need help. Pause. Then, where are you? Lisa closed her eyes, gripping the phone like a lifeline. I think my husband just broke into my apartment. Lisa's hands trembled as she clutched the phone, her pulse hammering in her ears. She could barely think over the storm of panic raging inside her. You're sure it's him? Marcus's voice was steady, grounding. Lisa swallowed hard. He sent me a picture. My apartment door is open. I didn't leave it that way. A moment of silence stretched on the other end. Then Marcus spoke, his tone firm. Where are you now? A hotel. About 10 minutes from my place. Good. Listen to me carefully, do not go there alone. I'm calling the police. What's your address? Lisa hesitated. Calling the police meant making this real. It meant no turning back, no second chances, no excuses. But when she looked at the message on her phone again, the sick feeling in her stomach made the choice for her. She gave Marcus the address. I'm on my way, he said. Stay put. Do not answer any calls from him. The line went dead. Lisa exhaled shakily, gripping her knees. How had it come to this? Just hours ago, she had been sitting in a restaurant, celebrating an anniversary that was supposed to be special. Now she was hiding in a hotel room, terrified of the man she had once trusted with her life. Her phone buzzed again. Damon, you're making a mistake. She blocked his number. Then she waited. By the time Marcus arrived at the hotel, the police had already gone to check the apartment. Lisa opened the door cautiously, her body still wired with fear. Marcus took one look at her and softened. Hey, he said gently. You're safe now. Lisa let out a shuddering breath. What did they say? The police. Marcus's jaw tightened. They found signs of forced entry. The door was jimmied open, but nothing was stolen. No cameras in the building, so they can't prove it was him unless you have more evidence. Lisa felt sick. So he can just get away with it? Marcus hesitated. For now. But there are steps we can take. You need a restraining order. Lisa pressed her fingers against her temples. God, how did I let it get this far? Marcus sat across from her. You're not the problem, Lisa. He is. She let out a bitter laugh. I used to think he was just difficult. That maybe I wasn't trying hard enough. That if I just did what he wanted, he'd stop treating me like this. Marcus sighed. That's how they operate. They break you down piece by piece until you think their behavior is your fault. Lisa nodded slowly. I can't go back there, can I? Marcus shook his head. Not until we have legal protection in place. And even then, I wouldn't trust him not to try something else. Lisa stared at the floor, her mind swirling with the weight of her reality. She was homeless, in danger, and at war with the man who had once been her husband. And she had a feeling this wasn't over. Not even close. Lisa stayed at the hotel for 2 more nights. In that time, she met with a lawyer, filed for a restraining order, and made arrangements to stay with a friend. She was finally starting to breathe again. But then, on the 3rd morning, something strange happened. When she woke up, there was a message slid under her hotel door. Her blood ran cold as she picked it up. The paper was folded neatly, her name written on the front in messy, familiar handwriting. She hesitated, then unfolded it. Inside, in bold letters, it read, You think a piece of paper can stop me? Lisa's breath hitched. Her hands shook. Damon had found her. She scrambled for her phone and dialed Marcus's number with shaking fingers. He picked up immediately. Lisa? He found me, she whispered. Marcus cursed under his breath. Where are you? Lisa was already grabbing her bag. Leaving the hotel. Now. Good. Meet me at my office. Don't go anywhere alone. Lisa stuffed the note into her pocket, her heart pounding. She had underestimated him. And now she wasn't sure if she would survive his next move.